Hello guys, and welcome to the channel, or welcome back. This is Divine Truth Tarot, and I will be your intuitive guide and your reader today. Now, I've chosen some decks based on, or off of rather, the energies that are currently hanging out in the stratosphere. We have been dealing with some very intense energies causing physical symptoms and sensations, and also causing us to sort of revert back maybe 10, 20 years ago. And things are coming up and bubbling to the surface that we thought we had conquered or mastered. Okay, so it's sort of like these previous timelines are bubbling back up to the surface, and we're being asked if we've really healed them. And we're also being asked if we can just sit with the feeling or the emotion, which is emotion, energy, and motion. It's just energy coursing and moving through the body, but it can feel very challenging to sit with that emotion, not try to suppress it or repress it or dismiss it or even fix it, but just allow it. So receiving and allowing it. And what's happening is, with this energy, we are creating storylines out of this energy. So it's like we're being invited back, in a sense, to these false narratives and false storylines. And we need to be very discerning right now where we're putting our energy and attention into, including the food consumption, right? It's consumption on all levels: food, energy, people, etc. And hold on one second, guys. Sorry about that. You guys know that I have kitty cats in here, and they tend to kind of go in and out when I'm in this room. Okay, so let me go ahead and get the microphone back on. So be very discerning of where you're giving your, who or what or where you're giving your attention to, because it could very well lead you into these false timelines. What is also coming up is this energy of wanting to give up on the journey, feeling like it's fake, it's not real. Did I make this up in my head? Am I crazy? Am I just chasing after someone that does not want to be with me? This is a very heavy energy right now. So I'm going to talk more about that over on Patreon. So I'm actually going to be doing a video for Patreon right after I do this video. So if you guys want to know more about that, if that's something that you're feeling is really coming up in your present reality, hop on over to Patreon, go ahead and become a supporter over there. And I'm going to be talking in much more detail about that. So for this reading, we're going to look at the Keepers of the Light deck. So we're going to find out which guides, gods and goddesses are working with us, which ascended masters are currently working with the divine counterparts. I also have the angel guide oracle. I've chosen also the animal spirit because I'd like to find out which animal presence or spirit or energy or medicine we're currently embodying at this time. And then I was also guided to choose the Beyond Lemuria deck. There's a lot of sort of otherworldly energies swirling into the matrix right now. So just a quick announcement about personal readings, and I'm going to hop right into the reading here. If you guys would like a personal reading for February, I am offering a flash sale. Love is here now is the code, so you'll just write that in the subject line or in the email that you send me. I do still have spots available, and it's 20% off of all of my readings. I have, I believe, 7 readings that I'm offering currently, but I'm about to introduce another bunch. I typically have different readings for different months, so I try to keep it very I try to keep it creative, I try to keep it fun, I try to keep it expansive, and most of the readings are focused on you and your journey. I do offer a twin flame reading, but more and more people who are booking readings with me, my clients, are after the divine feminine readings. So I have a lot of readings to assist you on your divine feminine journey. So hop on over. The flash sale, I've extended it until Friday. So it is for Valentine's Day. So it's extended until Friday, which is the 5th. So Friday the 5th, you have until then. And I know everyone's on different time zones. So if you email me on Saturday and you're okay, whatever, I will honor it. So I'm excited to jump back into personal readings for February, and let's go ahead and get started. So I am going to start with the Animal Spirit deck. So we're going to tune into the energies here just to see what's coming up and who is currently walking with the counterparts. Now, I have a lot of thoughts, and again, I'm going to be sharing in much more detail over on Patreon because I have a lot of thoughts about what's going on in the collective. I have thoughts about what it means to be a twin flame, about the label itself, because the label itself is falling away more and more for me on my personal journey, and I'm more and more being guided to this concept of accessing a higher love, both within oneself and then, in the external realm. So I'm going to be talking about what that means because it is changing my journey. And I feel a lot of people are stepping into this same energy. And, the world is changing. We are changing. And I really want the dominant energy to come through of love. And I think oftentimes on this journey, there are a lot of people who assume that they're a twin flame. And I just, over the years, I've seen, all of these questions or comments, and there's a lot of incorrect information circulating. And then a lot of it is also just the speculation, right? We're all just sort of speculating because we're all in this together. So I just want to sort of broaden our horizons about what it means to be a divine feminine, or if you're a divine masculine watching, and, will I end up with my twin flame? What does that look like? And do I open myself up to other opportunities in romance, in love, in partnerships? And if so, what does that mean for the twin flame journey? So I'm going to be exploring that with my Patreons. Okay, so go ahead, and I've got the link below for both personal readings and Patreon, guys. So if you do decide to come on over, the link will be below. So the overarching energy here is the frog energy. I see frogs all the time, tree frogs, and they're one of my absolute favorite animals. I think they're magical, they're fun, they're playful, they're inquisitive, they're curious. They're curious about us, and yet they're also cautious, right? A frog spends his or her time both on land and in water. So the frog is this amphibious character, if you will, this amphibious animal who really represents the arena of deep cleansing and healing. So there's a lot of cleansing, spiritual cleansing going on right now. And this is the spiritual cleansing of the physical body, as well as the spiritual cleansing of the physical, mental, emotional body. So I feel like it's a cleansing or a purification on all levels. And it's really clearing out so much gunk right now from our insides, from what's been imprinted in our cells, from the past, from these false timelines, from this false programming, from our ego, the ego that has sort of ruled or overruled our lives for many, many moons. And now we have looked within so deeply and so thoroughly that we know the ego. And even if you haven't mastered the ego, and I'm not sure that anyone actually masters the ego in 3D human form, because to some degree, you could argue that you need the ego to survive. Some people claim the ego is your friend. Some people claim it's the enemy. Some people claim it's somewhere, it's just basically neutral. So I think there's a lot of theories out there, both psychological and spiritual, discussing the ego. But there is an egoic death right now. And guys, the physical symptoms have been really intense. This sort of, I've been seeing it on not just, my divine feminine friends that I'm in contact with on a daily basis usually, or at least a regular basis, but also just in the collective in general. It's hard to breathe. Now that's sort of eased up a little bit, but especially last week, finding it really hard to breathe and feeling like you can't take a deep breath, leading to some anxiety, right, for many people. Insomnia has reared its ugly head again, okay? So this inability to fall asleep and actually not even, like I'm finding that I'm not even really tired at night. I'm just wide awake. We are downloading and receiving so many messages right now that it's basically impossible to rest. If you are, see, I'm dreaming, but I'm also feeling like I'm catnapping with one eye open, which doesn't make any sense because I have to be in this REM state to dream, right? This really deep state. But then I feel like I've got one eye open and I can wake up at, you know, like any moment, like any noise, anything, any distraction will wake me up. And so I know that many of you are experiencing that disruption in your sleep cycle as well. And maybe you're tired during the day, but then awake at night. So this is a reminder with this element of water, of course, earth element as well, but the element of water primarily with a frog is, you know, the frog spends the first few months of his precious life entirely, you know, encapsulated in this amphibious environment, okay, in water, and then emerges to live on land. But frogs, many frogs can live on earth and in the water both. So they need the frog personality. Like if, you know, the person were to embody the medicine of the frog, when you're not, like when you're overworking yourself, when you're in that egoic state of in pursuit of money, in pursuit of power, you're not cleansing, you're not rejuvenating. So this could easily, this is the divine masculine, but also the divine feminine inside of us, because we're really merging. So there's less of this sort of dichotomy of masculine, feminine, and it's more of just oneness inside of us. So this energy of just doing too much and not doing enough for yourself to nourish yourself. So radical self-care, radical, you know, tending to self, and maybe even undernourishing yourself. So be mindful of, you know, are you eating properly? Are you eating enough? Are you nourishing yourself? And not just food. You know, this is hydration. This is the water elements. Are you drinking enough water? Is your water purified? Maybe look into some sort of a water filtration system, or at least, you know, a shower head that will purify the water, because I think we're very sensitive. We're becoming more and more sensitive in these 3D bodies. So understand that there's a sensitivity, you know, with this frog energy, and you really want to take good care of yourself right now. There's a lot of forgiveness that's being asked, and that is, you know, asked of us, and that's coming through in the collective, and just releasing, you know, the releasing of what doesn't serve. And we're not meant to carry the heaviness that we've been carrying, okay? It depletes us, it empties our tanks, and when we're not taking care of ourselves, we can't take care of other people. So being around water element right now, even if you're not going in the water, just being around it is going to be very purifying. In fact, I think I'm going to go over to the beach tonight, even though it's freezing. I think I'm going to go head over there, because just to clear the enemy, well, okay, clear the energy. Thank you, Mercury retro, to clear the energy and also to clear out the enemy. I do feel like there's some darkness that has seeped into the collective. And again, you guys know I don't talk a lot about that, but I may talk about that over on Patreon as well, because it is definitely coming through, and it's coming through as just this hopeless energy. Like this is like a fruitless, you know, journey, and where are the gifts of the journey? And it's like a lot of feminines have felt like they're carrying the brunt, okay? They're carrying the heavy load and wondering where the masculine is, what the masculine's doing in the physical realm. I even sense, you know, coming from the feminine energy, I'm even sensing an energy of, it's like beyond frustration, judgment towards the masculine, as well as just pure exasperation. Like it's an exasperated energy of, where are you? Because, you know, we hear this in readings. He's coming, they're waking up. And I've been hearing that more often. And I even found myself getting frustrated. They're waking up. And so ultimately, the more we rely on what the masculine is doing, the masculine in the external, the physical world, the less we can focus on ourself and our own energy. And it really does tend to take us out of balance, almost I'd say 10 times out of 10. So many of us are completely in the dark as to what the masculine is doing. And it even has felt like maybe that you've gone backwards on your journey. I've gone backwards. Personally, when somebody removes themselves from your life, I think it's important that we ask ourselves, how much weight am I giving this person? Forget the label for a moment and realize if this person has decided to move on at this juncture in time, then that is a sign and a signal from the universe for you to move on completely from this individual. And that looks different for different people. For some people, that means dating somebody new. For other people, it just means holding space, staying single. You can hold space and date at the same time as well. It's energy. For other people, it's focusing on career, focusing on healing, health, focusing on mending family relationships, focusing on, your mission, your work, your career, your journey. And for most of us, it's a combination of all of the above. And I think it's just important that we recognize where we might be holding or clinging on to the masculine, in whether it's the spiritual realm or the physical realm. Where are you clinging or holding on to the hope that they will come back? Because the truth is, with everything that's going on in the world right now, sometimes it is a feat just to have gotten up and brushed your teeth, right? And conquered the day, right? And said hello to a new day. There are some days that feel very heavy, collectively. We're transmuting, we're empathic, we're picking up on this energy. And January was extremely dense and heavy. It was like cutting through literally density, like a dense fog. February is feeling a little bit lighter, although yesterday was super challenging personally. I do feel like February is going to lighten the load, but we still have a lot of heavy lifting to do as, our journey, we've signed up for this journey. So as a divine feminine. So let's go back to the cards and let's see, because we have raccoon and hawk. So hawk, seeing the bigger picture, realizing that there's a different perspective that one could choose to take, so that it's like the all-seeing. The hawk is considered by shamans to be a messenger of the divine. So when this energy is in balance, your third eye is very receptive to, you're seeing clearly, you're intuitive. And yet when this energy is out of balance, there can be some suspicious energy. So I feel this a lot in the collective right now. I feel the frog energy. We haven't gotten to raccoon yet. And I feel the hawk energy, which of course is the air element. I feel both of these very much going on in the collective right now. And when you have this energy in balance, you're going to feel a shift in your perspective, divine feminines. So this bird, this hawk, has the ability to sort of pierce through the whatever, like the protective barrier that one has, and I feel like this is connected into, of course, your psyche, your thoughts, but also your heart is what I'm feeling. So hawk has the ability to see the bigger picture, but also the finer, minute details of a situation. So there's just so much that we are literally being blinded to. We just don't know what's going on with the masculine, what's going on with the world. There's a lot of questions and there's a lot of speculations, but I don't think anyone has pure clarity unless you're God himself or herself. There is no clarity. There's just a lot of questions. And so hawk carries with it this reassuring energy. It's a message from the divine. And it's about redirecting your course and realizing that you don't have to have all the answers to make the decision to move forward. I think that's really what we want to take from this. You don't have to have all the answers to move forward in your life, to move forward with certainty. And it's sort of like when people say, wow, we're not ready to have a baby. It's, well, when are you ever ready to bring another human into this world? When are you ever ready to graduate college? When are you ever ready to get your first job? When are you ever ready to pay your first mortgage? When are you ever ready to assume that kind of responsibility? Because our souls are free. So at the core of who we want to be free. And so none of us really want to be tied down to a 9-to-5 job unless you absolutely love it. And I think very few people have been in that situation. Or maybe it's your own business, or it's a passion project. But even so, we are meant to be not mentally enslaved, which we have been, by the way, by society, by government, by the powers that be. We are meant to be free, mentally free, emotionally free, spiritually free. And so we're coming out of this sort of mental enslavement going, okay, what's next? And this is that age of Aquarius that has ushered ushered in that, again, I'm going to be talking a lot more about over on Patreon, because there's just so much more to say that I just can't say on here. Okay, so moving over to Raccoon. So now we delve into some earth energy here, and there's the shadow element with Raccoon, okay? There's this element of hiding or being in hiding. And it's not really hibernation, it's more like hiding. The shadows are coming out. And as the shadows are coming out here, I talked about this in the beginning of the reading, there's this tendency to sort of want to like, okay, I just want to disappear. I don't necessarily want to be dealing with this. I thought I'd already dealt with this. I closed that chapter. You know, I healed from that trauma, and they're coming up again. And in particular, mother and father wounds. Okay, so you're probably seeing a lot of toxic responses from mother or father energy right now in your life, and even that inner parents, right? The own inner critic. So you want to be really mindful and watchful of that inner critic, because we're still transmuting the shadow energy right now. And like I said, this is not to be run from. This is, you may feel like going into hiding from other people, but don't run from yourself. And I think that can be really challenging. You just want to run. You want to escape it. It doesn't feel good. It's uncomfortable. It feels heavy. You feel weighed down emotionally. It brings a lot of teary energy. It brings a lot of anger up to the surface, a lot of fear. It's like the fear of not amounting to anything is what's been coming through for me for the collective. And the fear of being insignificant, the fear of not being enough, the fear of not being worthy, the fear of not being lovable, the fear of things never working out for you and love never happening. It's like a lot of things that I've been channeling through for the collective, and they've been really, really painful to sit with and to transmute. And it's hard to know right now what's yours, what's the counterparts, and what's the collectives. Not even just the collective at large, but the collective of divine counterparts, right? There is a creative energy that comes through with Raccoon. So if you can come to the other side, and you will come to the other side of the shadow energy, you're going to realize that moving past that self-doubt, there's actually a lot of success, and there's no need to wear this mask. We're being asked to emerge as our true selves. And I think that you know is again, it's a challenging energy to be asking people to tap into, because it's like everything is so uncertain right now. So it's easy to want to hide behind that mask and sort of dim your light, because you don't want to be the light. The world is going through a dark night and a shadow phase. And it puts a lot of pressure on us to be the light in this world, because before we were just supposed to be the light in our own little mission, our own little group. And now we have to be the light for the entire world and to help people wake up. And I think a lot of us are sort of just wanting a break from helping the whole collective at large wake up. Vulnerability and freedom. This reminds me of the Star card and the tarot deck. So there's an energy, yeah, remember I talked about we're free, the age of Aquarius, and, you know, being mentally enslaved, and realizing that, you know, we really are free, and we are sovereign beings, and we just, the more we act as such, the less we consume the things that we are being fed. And again, this is not just food consumption. This is media. This is TV. This is news. This is friends and gossip and all of this, these lower level energies that have infiltrated our lives. And we've all been guilty of giving into the matrix. We've all fed into the matrix. The more that we realize that we're sovereign, and the more we actually take that mask off and let our vulnerability show, the more we're going to shine and be that star for the world, which is truly what we did come here to do. Even if right now you're like, can I just get off this mission? Can I just get off this crazy train ride? Can I just be normal? Can I just be myself? And I know you guys have thought about this, like, who was I before I met my twin flame? And I don't think things were necessarily easier, because you probably felt like I did that there was something missing or somebody out there. So it wasn't necessarily easier. I went through a lot of trauma before meeting the twin flame, but in some senses it was also like I just had to worry about me. And now as a twin flame, you realize there's so much personal responsibility on us, not just for this situation or connection, but for the entire world. The divine wants to remind you that there is a sacred plan. There's, the need to surrender, and that the sacred plan does involve romance and connection. Now, that being said, okay, I don't feel like, you guys know that I don't do timelines for a reason. And if it comes up in a reading, and if I'm channeling it or tuned into it, I will speak it, but I don't ask. If it comes up, it comes up. We just are this is very vague, right? And we're being reminded that there is a sacred plan, and the sacred plan does involve the heart. It does involve love. But how much of that involves you loving yourself and realizing that the wholeness, starts from within and then radiates without, okay? Starting from within, radiating that love and that light without. Let's see if we can get some clarity. Spirit, can you clarify sacred plan, romance, and connection? Yeah, this definitely involves stepping into your role as a leader on this planet. Stepping into your role as a powerful force in the universe. So, that's part of the sacred plan. Again, it's like cannot be impressed upon enough that this connection is way more than just a romantic connection. Yeah, change and going forward are coming up. So the energies of change are very present. This has been coming up in all my personal readings I did last week as well for clients. Change is definitely imminent. Change is here. Okay, we're living it. We're moving through it. We're living through a historical time. Someone made a comment a few months ago, is something about this isn't a historical time, and they listed all these events that had occurred in history. And I'm not saying that those events didn't happen, or it was so interesting because it wasn't at all in reference to any other event. I was saying that in terms of the consciousness of the planet, this is a shift that the likes of which we have not seen before. That's all. It was interesting. So the change that is, we're riding on the winds of change right now, and we don't know where it's taking us. So there is a lot of chaotic, frenetic, that's the best word that I've been using to describe the energy, frenetic energy, moving us forward. It's like we cannot go back anymore, but at the same time, we're dealing with the shadows. So we're being asked to conquer the shadows, to acknowledge the shadows, to love the shadows, to integrate the shadows once and for all, so that we can move forward and we can allow this change to come in for us. There's a lot of assistance that we have in the divine realms. And I just think it's important that we recognize that assistance, and we recognize that we don't have to do this alone, because again, this can feel very overwhelming. So if you guys are feeling overwhelmed, that's one reason that I've created, the other platform, is so that we can chat, so that you can have support. It's a more intimate setting, and you know, we can start a conversation over there a lot easier than you can do on YouTube. And it's just very hard once you get past a certain number of subscribers to really monitor the comments. And that's one of the reasons I've temporarily just turned them off, is just I don't have the energy or the time to not to deal with the positive comments or the questions. I love those, but to be able to answer all of them and to deal with the negativity that was coming through because of the changes that are going on in the world. I couldn't do it. And so that was my decision, and I will turn them back on maybe even this month, we'll see. But for now, it's, you know, it's what's making sense. It's what's protecting all of us. So interesting. We have, this is the Magical Times Empowerment cards. So expectation, be open for whatever comes next. It just might be the music your heart's been wanting to hear. Yeah, we're being asked to, in terms of these connections, let go of the expectation of how things should appear. And this is just coming up very clearly. Again, on the bottom of the deck here, what do we have? We have change. So, I mean, it's very clear when Spirit wants to drive a point home, they will. You are transforming, let go of the past, embrace the light and joy of this new day. There's a definite transformation happening, and it is leading to prosperity. Look, we have the frogs being emphasized as well. Focus on the positive and more good will come. Give thanks for blessings and they will multiply. Prosperity begins in the mind, right? So change and prosperity, you know, the cleansing, the rebirth energy of the frog, the good luck, the abundant energy and success and prosperity that frog brings as well. That's all coming through very strongly. So we want to really focus on what is coming next, and less of dwelling of what's happened in the past. Confidence, be bold. And we have the eagle, rise up and stand tall and feel the fire in your soul. You know, even though eagle represents the air element, there's a fiery element to eagle. You don't want to mess with eagle. They're an apex predator. They don't have any enemies. They eat other animals. They consume. They do not, they hunt, they're not hunted. So, you know, this is sort of that leader energy coming through here of you are the hunter, you're not the hunted. And in past lives, yeah, it's a totally different story. We have been hunted, but in this life, we are the ones who are leading the charge and leading the way with a very fiery energy, might I add, especially my indigos. Clarity, finding clarity through, remember I talked about the fog, the dense fog of January. This is about receiving clarity. So February does promise to bring clarity and banish the fog of the illusions. Open your eyes to the truth and remember the perfection of who you are. So let's go ahead and pull one more card here. Actually, I'm going to close out this reading, but I am going to Spirit, what message do you have for the collective here? What message do you have for the collective? Or watching this video, what message do you have? Thank you. New blueprints. I feel that. Yeah, there's a sacred plan, and this is why we've been doing the shadow work in January and really heavily integrating, is so that the new blueprints can take form, okay, within us. This doesn't, you know, this might look pretty here on the card, but it doesn't feel very pretty, okay? It might sound pretty, but it doesn't look pretty. It doesn't feel pretty. It doesn't feel good. When we're seeding the light, we have to clear out all the density and the shadows, and that's what we're doing at this time, making room for the abundance, making room for the joy. And it definitely is not a pleasant experience most of the time. She of the lotus. So the lotus flower that blooms in the mud. I'm going to actually take a look at the book here. Shadow work, I knew it. So yeah, just reiterating that we are definitely doing some shadow work, some heavy lifting right now. Loving yourself back to wholeness. and remembering that the lotus flower blooms and blossoms from muddy waters, okay, and murky waters. And that's, you know, where what we've been doing in January. We've really been down and deep in those murky waters, being triggered, feeling disempowered. So this is bringing light into all cracks and crevices of your body, of your journey, of your soul, you know, shedding the tears and allowing for the healing to come. If you want the fast track to ascension, the fast track to mission, the fast track to abundance, the fast track to joy, or to union, to self or otherwise, you're going to have to be willing and courageous enough to dive deep into those murky waters, into the shadow aspect and element of yourself. And I think it's important to keep perspective as we're going through this, because it's easy to want to discard those parts of ourselves that feel weak or disempowered or, you know, angry or blameful or shameful or, you know, too intense, you know, or whatever it is that those programs are running for us. But when we reject or deny those parts of ourselves, we end up feeling hollow and lost. And I feel like that's what a lot of us have been experiencing in January. And then you automatically search for your counterpart because you want them to be there. Why aren't they here going through this with me? Why aren't they here? Why aren't they walking me through this? Why aren't they supporting me? And the more that we search and the more that we yearn and the more that we long and the more that we reach for them, the further away they'll seem in the 3D. And that's when we experience the ghosting, the silent treatment. And it brings us back into ourselves, and eventually we're left with just ourselves and there's no one or nothing else. And we are asked to sit with ourselves and to really like dislodge the hatred we have for the shadow elements and realize that they don't have power unless we give them power. When we, instead of pushing them down, when we work with them, when we have compassion and gentleness, non-judgment, honesty, we allow them to bask in the light instead of just pushing them down, pushing them away, hoping that, you know, they won't come back, because they'll always come back. And we want to allow these new prints, these blueprints to come in, the blueprints for our life, the blueprint that we created long before we incarnated. We want to allow the light to really ripple out and have that effect on, you know, our surroundings and the rest of the world. So I'm going to be doing a longer version of this reading over on Patreon, guys. So I'm going to stop here. I love you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe, and I will see you in the next reading. And if you want the longer version, hop on over there and I'll see you over there. Take great care.